Good afternoon, welcome to my channel. My name is David Okun, and I've been talking about the cost of living crisis, which is a global phenomenon. It's a problem to do with poverty created by capitalism as a system. It's associated with government policy on the public sector failing to provide the same in some of services globally, especially in Africa and also in Kenya. We are talking about Kenya today in terms of the cost of living crisis. We look at Kenya as a country which could be, in terms of potential, the richest, one of the richest countries on the world, in the world, but also developmentally, it has actually done very well, except because of capitalism, it has concentrated wealth in the hands of the few and not in the hands of the many. The cost of living, wherever it occurs as a crisis or otherwise, is the product of poverty which exists among the 90% or more of the population of the world, the working class, lower in the middle class, who are workers, who are actually poor, and regardless how you define poverty. So it is an income-related issue when the system actually keep the majority of the population of the world permanently poor, not being able to get out of poverty in the first instance, never to mention whether or not they're going to access wealth. So the same is repeated globally because of globalization. What is happening is globalization. Capitalism is being globalized, including in Kenya. Looking at Kenya today, watch this video alongside the rest of the series on Kenya and Africa and all the other videos if you have the time, because we are talking about similar things, except we are trying to illustrate the cost of living, which is actually a symptom of society. And we are looking at development and culture alongside each other as factors of progress. And we have argued in this program that we have done very well as humanity along the plane of development, but we're very poorly on the cultural economic plane. Culture simply means valuing humanity as of priority over and above even wealth or development of any mentioning. And I've been talking about this, I will continue to talk about this. Today we are talking about Kenya. We are actually talking a section of the Kenyan economy in tourism and looking at the material which will go take you through and also make commentary. Is a review of material, but also with a view to understanding in more detail the cause of the cost of living crisis, which I invite you to pay close attention, because if there's a problem, then it is our duty as humanity to understand the problem in order to identify the problem in order also to solve the problem. We take responsibility as peoples of the world to try and address our own issues. So let us look at national parks in Kenya. Amboseli National Park, for example. Look at Tsavo East National Park. These are some of the leading parks in the world in East Africa. In Kenya, Kenya is really well renowned for tourism. Tourism in Kenya is the second largest source of foreign exchange revenue following agriculture. The Kenya Tourism Board is responsible for maintaining information pertaining to tourism in Kenya. The main tourist attractions are photo safaris through the 60 national parks and game reserves. Other attractions include the wildebeest migration at the Masai Mara, which is considered to be the seventh wonder of the world, historical mosque, and colonial era forts at Mombasa, Malindi, and Lamu, renowned scenery such as the White Cap, Mount Kenya, and the Great Rift Valley, tea plantation at Kericho, coffee plantation at Thika, splendid view of Mount Kilimanjaro across the border into Tanzania, and the beaches along the Swahili coast and the Indian Ocean. These are some of the features you can go into Kenya to visit on holiday or in any other capacity, or if you are a student of tourism or you know or sites or or sightseer or something like that. Tourists, the largest number being from Germany and the United Kingdom, are attracted mainly to the coastal beaches and the game reserves, notably the expansive East and Savo West National Park, 20,808 square kilometers, an equivalent of 8,034 square miles to the southeast. We're going to look at agriculture in Kenya, and while we are looking at the production of tea near Kericho in the Kericho County, agriculture is the second largest contributor to Kenya's gross domestic product (GDP) after the service sector. In 2005, agriculture, including forestry and fishery, accounted for 24% of GDP, as well as the 18% of wage employment and 50% of revenue from exports. The principal cash crops are tea, horticultural product, and coffee. Horticultural product and tea are the main growth sectors and the two most valuable of all the Kenyan exports. The production of major food staples such as corn is subject to sharp weather-related fluctuation. Production downturn periodically necessitate food aid. For example, in 2004, due to one of Kenya's intermittent drought. We discussed incidences of poverty in Africa and Kenya in particular, and also the parts played by nature, and this relates to the cost of living crisis incident as being worse in Africa and East Africa and Kenya more than anywhere else in the world. We suggested solutions as well. If you watch that later video, if you have subscribed, thank you so much for supporting, sharing with family and friends. Subscribe if you're watching this video, and share with family and friends, and enjoy the video. It's interesting. It's a fantastic material, and you can also find ways of entertaining yourself. It's intended for education and also to engage, to provide a pointer to how we can begin to engage with the cost of living crisis as an incident. So the consortium led by the International Crop Research Institute for the Semi-Arid Tropics, ICRISAT, has had some success in helping farmers grow new pigeon pea varieties instead of maize, in particular dry areas. Pigeon peas are very drought resistant, so can be grown in areas with less than 6,650 millimeters, 26 inches annual rainfall. Successive projects encourage the commercialization of legumes by stimulating the growth of local seed production and agro dealer networks for distribution and marketing. This work which include the linking producers to wholesalers, help to increase local producers' prices by 20-25% in Nairobi and Mombasa. The communication of the pigeon pea is now, the commercialization of the pigeon pea is now enabling some farmers to buy assets ranging from mobile phones to productive land and livestock, and is opening pathways for them to move out of poverty. If you watch this video, watch it in conjunction of the rest of the video. I've provided more detailed analysis. This is a continuation of what began with those other videos. The tea, coffee, sisal, pyrethrum, corn, and wheat are grown in the fertile highlands, one of the most successful agricultural production regions in Africa. Livestock predominates in the semi-arid savanna to the north and the east, coconuts, pineapples, cashew nuts, cotton, sugarcane, sisal, and corn are grown in the lower lying areas. This is the situation in Kenya in terms of agriculture in relation taking into account of other dynamics, including the environment, weather, and the incidences, including the supply, production and supply of food, food poverty and riches, and also energy and all the other natural resources like water for drinking and also for irrigation and things like that. This is the kind of thing being linked to the cost of living as a crisis. So livestock predominates in the semi-arid savanna, as I said, and to the north and the east. Coconuts, pineapple, cashew nuts, cotton, sugarcane, sisal, and cotton are grown in the lower lying areas. Kenya has not attained the level of investment and efficiency in agriculture that can guarantee food security, and coupled with the resulting poverty, 53% of the population lives below the poverty line, and a significant portion of the population regularly starves and is heavily dependent on food aid. Poor roads and inadequate railway network, underused water transport, and expensive air transport isolated mostly arid and semi-arid areas, and farmers in other regions often leave food to rot in the fields because they cannot access markets. This was last seen in August and September 2011, prompting the Kenyans for Kenya initiative by the Red Cross. And these are some of the issues pertaining in Kenya, and it relates directly or indirectly to the cost of living crisis. So there is the relevance of this material and this dispensation. As we look at this material, we're continuing to look at agriculture in the countryside in Kenya. Kenya's irrigation sector is categorized into three organizational types: smallholder schemes, centrally managed public schemes, and private commercial irrigation schemes. The smallholder schemes are owned, developed, and managed by individuals or groups of farmers operating as water users or self-help groups. Irrigation is carried out on individual or on group farms averaging 0.1 to 0.4 hectares. There are about 3,000 smallholder irrigation schemes covering a total area of 47,000 acres. The country has 7 large centrally managed irrigation schemes, namely Mwea, Bura, Hola, Bakera, West Kano, Bunyala, and Ahero, covering a total area of 18,200 hectares and averaging 2,600 hectares per scheme. So this is the situation pertaining in Kenya, and we're linking this situation with the cost of living crisis, also contemplating whatever plan and operations within country to address several issues, including one of poverty. These schemes are managed by the National Irrigation Board and account for 18% of irrigated land area in Kenya. Large-scale private commercial farms cover 45% hectares, accounting for 40% of irrigated land. They utilize high technology and produce a high value crop for the export market, especially flowers and vegetables. Kenya is the world's third largest exporter of cut flowers. Roughly half of Kenya's 127 flower farms are concentrated around Lake Naivasha, 90 kilometers northwest of Nairobi. Apparently, the wealthiest part of Kenya in terms of natural resources, in terms of agriculture, is devoted to producing flowers that are to be exported into Europe and other rich regions of the world. And if you comment below if you think that is a bit rich, but you know, if you want to understand the rest of the analysis of this information, watch the other videos. This is a continuation of that video. Roughly, to speed their export, Nairobi Airport has been a terminal dedicated to the transport of flowers and vegetables. Let's look at this industry and manufacturing in Kenya, the commercialization of the same. Looking at commercial bank in places like a Kencom house in Nairobi. Although Kenya is a low middle income country, manufacturing accounts for 14% of GDP, with industrial activity concentrated around the three largest urban centers of Nairobi, Mombasa, and Kisumu, and is dominated by food processing industries such as grain milling, beer production, sugarcane crushing, and the fabrication of consumer goods. Example vehicles from kits. Kenya has also a cement production industry. Kenya has an oil refinery that processes imported crude petroleum in petroleum products and into actually imported crude petroleum into. It actually processes imported crude petroleum into petroleum products, mainly for the domestic market. In addition, a substantial and expanding information sector, commonly referred to as Joakali, engages in small-scale manufacturing of household goods, auto parts, and farm implements. Kenya's inclusion among the beneficiaries of the United States government's African Growth and Opportunity Act, AGOA, and has given a boost to manufacturing in recent years. Since AGOA took effect in 2000, Kenya's clothing sales to the United States increased from US dollars 44 million to US dollar 270 million. This is into statistics in 2006. Other initiatives of to strengthen manufacturing have been to the new government's favorable tax measures, including the removal of duty on capital equipment and other raw materials. Let's look at transportation in Kenya. The country has an extensive network of paved and unpaved roads. Kenya's railway system links the national ports and major cities, connecting it with neighboring Uganda. There are 15 airports which have paved railways. I refer you to the previous videos. This is a continuation, and detailed analysis of the situation in Kenya has been provided. Subscribe to this channel if you haven't subscribed. Share with family and friends. And thank you so much for your support. We are doing great. We are doing amazingly. This channel is doing amazingly. It's doing amazingly. And I'm so excited, especially for people who have been with me to support me in little, medium, and big ways. Looking at Kenya in terms of the cost of living crisis, and watch this video in relation to the rest of the videos. Actually, there are detailed analysis provided in the other videos. And let's look at energy in Kenya. And energy is also a factor of the cost of living crisis. Energy, food, and other utilities, including housing, healthcare, employment. If there is a problem disturbing these, including education, if there are disruptions under capitalism and the government doesn't intervene to ameliorate this crisis, then incidences, including the cost of living crisis, always occur. The workers at Olkaria geothermal power plant, the largest share of Kenya's electricity supply comes from the geothermal energy, followed by hydroelectric stations at dams along the upper Tana River, as well as the Tukwel Gorge Dam in the west. A petroleum fired plant on the coast, geothermal facility at Olkaria near Nairobi, and electricity imported from Uganda make up the rest of the supply. The 2,000 megawatt power line from Ethiopia is nearing completion. Kenya's installed capacity increased from 1,142 megawatts between 2001 and 2003 to 2,341 in 2016. The state-owned Kenya Electricity Generating Company, KenGen, established in 1997 under the name of Kenya Power Company, handles the generation of electricity, while Kenya Power handles the electricity transmission and distribution system in the country. Shortfalls of electricity occur periodically when drought reduces water flow. To become energy sufficient, Kenya has installed wind power and solar power over 300 megawatts each, and aims to build a nuclear power plant by 2017. Watch this video in conjunction with the other parts. There are 4 other parts focusing on Kenya in relation to the cost of living. Watch this video alongside this one for it to make complete sense. Kenya has proven deposits of oil in Turkana. Tullow Oil estimates the country's oil reserves to be around 1 billion barrels. Exploration is still continuing to determine whether there are more reserves. Kenya currently imports all crude petroleum requirements. It has no strategic reserves and relies solely on oil marketeers. 21-day oil reserves required under industry regulations. Petroleum accounts for 20% to 25% of the national import bill. Look at the influence of Chinese investing in Kenya, and also its trading activities in Kenya. Published comments on Kenya's Capital FM website by Liu Guanyan, China's ambassador to Kenya at the time of President Kenyatta's 2013 trip to Beijing, said Chinese investment in Kenya reached $474 million, representing Kenya's largest source of foreign direct investment, and bilateral trade reached $2.84 billion in 2012. Kenyatta was accompanied by 60 Kenyan business people and hoped to gain support from China for a planned $2.5 billion railway from the southern Kenyan port of Mombasa to neighboring Uganda, as well as a nearly $1.8 billion dam, according to a statement from the president's office. Also at the time of the trip. I'm doing a review of what situation prevails in Kenya, to look at this and also do an assessment or a country assessment to establish the status of Kenya in terms of wealth and potentials, linking this with the incident of the cost of living crisis, which is global, worst of all affecting Africa and Kenya. And doing so, inviting you to watch this video in conjunction with the other parts, 4 other parts, which actually have preceded this, for you to make a complete sense of what I'm talking about. So let us say base titanium a subsidiary of Base Resources of Australia, shipped its first major consignment of minerals to China, about 25,000 tons of ilmenite was flagged off of the Kenyan coastal town of Kilifi. So we'll talk about general trade. The first shipment was expected to earn Kenya about Kenya shillings 15 to 20 billion in earnings. In 2014, the Chinese contracted railway project from Nairobi to Mombasa was suspended due to a dispute over compensation for land acquisition. Let's look at Vision 2030 in Kenya. The official logo of the vision is also provided. If you're watching this video, thank you for supporting this channel, and subscribe to this channel and share with family and friends. Leave a comment below if you're from Kenya, if you are not from Kenya, and I'm watching this video, watch it with the rest of these videos in this series looking at Kenya, at the situation there, and also linking the status of the country in terms of the cost of living crisis, which is a global condition. In 2007, the Kenyan government unveiled Vision 2030, an economic development program it hopes will put the country in the same league as the Asian economic tigers by 2030. In 2012, it announced the National Climate Change Action Plan, having acknowledged that omitting climate as a key developmental issue in the Vision 2030 was an oversight failure. The 200-page action plan developed with support from the Climate and Development Knowledge Network set out the government of Kenya's vision for a low-carbon, climate-resilient development pathway. At the launch in March 2013, the Secretary of the Ministry of Planning, National Development and Vision 2020 emphasized that climate would be a central issue in the renewed medium-term plan that would be launched in the coming months. This would create a direct and robust delivery framework for the action plan and ensure climate change is treated as an economic-wide issue. Some of the issues in the economy involving policies and practices in Kenya are providing a situation in Kenya linking every aspect of the country in terms of the cost of living crisis. You're watching this video, subscribe to this channel, and then I'll link this video to the rest of the videos I've produced, 4 parts. And thank you so much for your support. Furthermore, Kenya submitted an update, more ambitious NDC on December 24th, 2020, with a commitment to abate greenhouse gases by 32% by 2030 relative to the business as usual scenario and in line with its sustainable development agenda and national circumstances. Let us look at the economy. We have looked at the economy. We're looking at some information. A summary: GDP 41.84 billion. These actually are summaries. We already discussed this elsewhere. So we are going to invite you to watch the other videos to see the rest of the information on Kenya. Extremely interesting and quite engaging. And watch the video, share with family and friends, and support this channel, subscribe to this channel. Looking at oil exploration in Kenya, Lake Turkana borders Turkana County. Kenya has proven oil deposits in Turkana County. President Mwai Kibaki announced on the 26th March 2012 that Thurlow Oil an Anglo-Irish oil exploration firm, struck oil, but its commercial viability and subsequent production would take about 3 years to confirm. Early in 2006, Chinese President Hu Jintao signed an oil exploration contract with Kenya, part of a series of deals designed to keep Africa's natural resources flowing to China's rapidly expanding economy. Let's look at the family of lions in Masai Mara. The deal allowed for China's state-controlled offshore oil and gas company CNOOC to prospect for oil in Kenya, which is just beginning to drill its first exploratory wells on the borders of Sudan and the disputed area of eastern province on the border with Somalia and in central coastal waters. There are formal estimates of the possible reserves of oil discovered. Let's look at actions against pollution. In 2017, Kenya banned single-use plastic bags. According to the National Environmental Authority, 80% of the public have adhered to this ban. Subsequently, in 2020, the prohibition of single-use plastics was extended to protected areas, including parks and forests. A law passed in July 2023 mandates companies to actively reduce the pollution and environmental impact caused by the products they introduce into the Kenyan market, either individually or through collective schemes. Unlike our previous practices, businesses are now obligated to participate in waste collection and recycling initiatives such as PEC2 initiative established by the government in 2018. Thank you for watching this video. If you have watched the video, link it with the previous video, watch the other videos as well, because this is a continuation of the rest of the videos already recorded. So provide an introduction and detailed analysis there in terms of linking country with the cost of living and looking at the country in every element of its existence and functioning. Let's look at child labor and prostitution in Kenya, and looking in areas both in Kenya and Tanzania, and looking at the Maasai people. Child labor is common in Kenya, particularly in agriculture. In 2006, UNICEF estimated that up to 30% of girls in the coastal areas of Malindi, Mombasa, Kilifi, and Diani were subject to prostitution. Most of the prostitutes in Kenya are aged 9 to 18. The Ministry of Gender and Child Affairs employed 400 child protection officers in 2009. We talk about Kenya and poverty there, and linking the same with the cost of living crisis, including every aspect of society existing in Kenya. What the other video we have provided analysis there in detail. We are going through a material review to support our disposition and also dispensation in terms of the cost of living crisis, linking the same with Kenya. Most of the prostitutes in Kenya are the causes of child labor include poverty, the lack of access to education, and weak government institutions. Kenya has ratified Convention number 81 on labor inspection in industries and Convention number 129 on labor inspection in agriculture. We have said in the other videos in detail why the public sector failure in Kenya and also around Africa and in the globe is the primary cause of the cost of living crisis. The cost of living crisis is the poverty issue, and also it's a class issue, which is actually a policy failure by global governments, including government in Kenya. And the change must occur to strengthen the public sector to provide public service. And also this policy should be aim at getting poor people, the majority, 90% of the population, out of poverty. And this should be coupled with education on culture, prioritizing humanity over wealth and other factors of society. We have actually talked about this in detail in the four part videos previously. Watch this and the other as well if you have time, find time as well. Kenya has ratified a convention. So let us look at child labor in Kenya, microfinance. Microfinance in Kenya, more than 20 institutions offer business loans on a large scale, specific agricultural cultural loans, education loans, and loans for other purposes. This is, I think, giving loans to people who are already poor is it's a big mistake. It's a policy failure, and I think it should change. It should be given grants. And there is so much wealth in the world, and there is no reason why wealthy governments of the West and also African government do not actually organize policies such as to give grants other than loans. Because with loans, you can't give loans to poor people. The poor people cannot pay loans back. And more than loans, you should also give other support, train them how to run business, how to invest. And this is actually a sign of cultural failure and negligence and poor policy initiative, and should stop with forthwith. And this create more problems than solve, deepening, causing confusion. Actually, it's a wrong policy designed inadvertently or by design to actually take land away, because the Africans have land. Also in Kenya, they have land. They're going to provide land as a collateral to loans, and if they fail to pay this loan, then lands will be taken away. This is wrong, and this is actually policy of impoverishment. It's a policy designed to dispossess Africans, especially East African Kenyan, of their land and other assets. And stop. If they're going to help poor people, they should give grants. And so there are additionally there are emergency loans which are more expensive in respect or to interest rates, but are quickly available. Group loans of smaller groups of 4 to 5 members, and larger groups or up to 30 members. Women's loan, which are also available to groups of women, and out of approximately 40 million Kenyans, about 14 million are unable to receive financial service through formal loan application services, and an additional 12 million have no access to financial service institutions at all. Further, 1 million Kenyans are reliant on informal groups for receiving financial aid. The reason the government is giving loan is because of privatization. Essential sector of the economy, like employment, should be under the public sector and also under the public service. It should never be privatized. It should not be provided by private sector. Private sectors are there to make money for themselves. They don't help anyone. And this, I have said, the shutting down of the public sector, which is an ideological issue, is a political issue. It's not an economic really objective, and also a product of cultural failure. Should stop and should be reversed if people are to be supported out of poverty. The cost of living is directly or indirectly related to the poor financing infrastructure in a country like Kenya. This is a rottenness which is actually consistent with capitalism, which should be eradicated forthwith. Capitalism should be there to help the super rich, and should be there to help multimillionaires and multi-billionaires, and the government should be there to help people who cannot help themselves, poor people who are actually now being given a loan in Kenya. That is a form of abuse. is adding insult to injury. If you are already poor, you should not be given loan, you should be given a grant. And the global government, if they want peace, should change this policy radically, and nobody in Africa or elsewhere should ever be given loan. It is evil. It is the product of a rotten aspect of capitalism, which actually concentrate wealth in the hands of a few and keeping the many poor, and abusing them with policies of loan giving and collateralizing vital assets like land and essential product. Putting more pressure is actually a form of insult, and government, Kenya government is a very evil government. African government are very evil because these are policies that are occurring across the continent. It should stop. We need to learn our culture and really revisit sensibility. We need to really value humanity. We should have stopped abusing poor people, giving them loan, knowing clearly that they have land and they can't pay it back. And it's a conspiracy actually to take land away from poor people, as if abuse is not bad enough. And more abuse is happening in a country like Kenya, a very evil country. Africa is a very evil continent. The globe is a very evil place because of cultural failure. They should stop immediately, and change must occur. We need to look after people. We need to stop incidences of evil and start living like humans. So to mitigate this problem, the middle banking service, M-Pesa, was launched in 2007 by Vodafone and Safaricom in collaboration from the Financial Deepening Challenge Fund competition is established by the UK government Department for International Development. The international development is a worthless institution. It should be actually banned from Africa and the rest of the world until they begin to pay attention to poverty and using the public sector, not really this madness about privatization. And also loan giving should stop. It's a cruel policy. It's actually a policy of thieves and murderers and looters of countries, whether it's occurring in Kenya or in Africa or in Europe or America. It is evil and is actually violent. Is actually an invitation to war by the few against the many who are actually extremely poor. It's like kicking somebody who is already on the floor. It's a form of savagery. It's backwardness in a modern world, a supposedly modern world, which should now be culturally highly educated. Unfortunately, they are culturally really bankrupt. And my invitation is for these people in power, capitalists in power, multi-billionaires, to revisit their culture and start valuing humanity. And let's go back to looking at Kenya. M-Pesa allows users to deposit, withdraw, transfer money, pay for goods and services, Lipa and Pesa, access credit and savings, all with a mobile device, has provided access to digital transaction to millions of Kenyans in poverty situation. Wrong. We need grants, not loans in Africa or elsewhere. We need the public sector to provide these services. We need community-based like NGOs, CBOs to provide these services. Not even private sector. Private sector are for the multimillionaires and multi-billionaires, 10 to 15% of the population. The rest of the population should rely on the government taxing the super rich and providing money to support people out of poverty. And loan should never, ever, ever be given to any poor person. What should attain is actually credit, grants. This evil is happening in the United Kingdom, in the rest of the developed world, when government gives student loans to students who should not actually. A lot of students are not going to school now because they are so disappointed by the government, and they are right. The government should give grants to students in the UK, Scotland, Wales, in the developed world in America. The nonsense about insurance for health, the nonsense about a loan, student loan, whatever you call it, we need grant. We need to tax the rich to allow poor children to go to school, even if they don't find work. it is good for them. Enlightenment is good for them. Is healthy, and let the poor, the rich learn. The rich and the poor alike learn culture, because if the rich know their culture, they speak. You take their life seriously. Now, young people are committing suicide because they are culturally poor. They don't value their life. They only think of money. This is wrong for society. That's why there is war. People, life is cheap. The culture is rotten. Let us look at our culture. Let us look at whether you are rich. The rich should learn culture so that they can pay attention to helping the poor through government, through communities, through families. Do not give grant to anyone anywhere in the world. This is actually the cause of the cost of living crisis. Let us look at demographic in Kenya. The Bantu, we have seen part of this already. So if you watch the other videos, then help yourself. The Bantu are actually the biggest, and the year 1948, 5.4 million, 1962, 5.8 million, 1962, 10.9 million, 2000, 31.4 billion, 2021, 53 million. Kenya had a population of approximately 48 million in January 2017. The country has a young population with 73% of residents under 30 because of rapid population growth from 2.9 million to 40 million inhabitants over the last century. Nairobi is home to Kibera, one of the world's largest slums. Kibera is a critical taint on earth. It's one of the evil places, the most evil places on earth. And if you think the cost of living was nasty and ugly, go to Kibera in Kenya. I've never been there, but I've seen scenes there. This is hell on earth. Kibera is hell on earth. And if you see places like that, then you know it's an emergency to go back to school to learn culture, to value humanity. The Kibera, as you find in Kenya, is evidence that we are actually a ticking time bomb as humanity, a ticking time bomb. Time is running out for humanity. If we allow evil to occur to the extent such as occurs in Kibera, in Nairobi, then the world is soon or later coming to an end. When the world comes to an end, it means the extinction of humanity. The level of violence we are practicing is evidence that our culture is at stake. Let us stop, whether you're rich or poor, and really revisit our culture, which is the changing the way we think, starting all over again to value humanity. It is essential. If you're still a human being, listen to me and go back home. It doesn't matter whether the only two of you or just 3 or 4. Start a group to start talking about the value. Write them down. 10 things you value about humanity. Start it now. Before humanity go extinct, we are going to die because of cultural failure. The violence, the wars in Ukraine, the wars in the Middle East, September 11th, July 7 in London, the bombs, the terrorism, all these things is a cultural failure. Let us stop and start learning again. Poor, rich, young, old. Look after humanity. Humanity should come first, even before the environmental protection. Today, when you hear government speaking, you think environment is more important than humanity. If you hear government is talking about wealth, you think money and wealth is more important than humanity. This level of negligence has created the cost of living crisis, has created whole host of crisis. Even during COVID-19, the government would have managed the pandemic more effectively if the public sector was functioning effectively. The public sector is being closed down because the government do not value the human life anymore. You only think of money. If you are rich, if you are multimillionaire, you are the only human the government thinks about. If you have no money, you have zero value. This is wrong. This is suicidal for the poor. and for the rich alike. The world is coming to an end. Stop Kibera in Kenya. Stop Kenya government. Stop. Get rid of Kibera and give grants, build houses, talk to the IMF and the World Bank, talk to rich nations, let them go. If Barack Obama go to Kenya, Kenya president, take Barack Obama, take Michelle Obama, take the former first family from Kenya. This president is from Kenya. Take him to Kibera. If Joe Biden goes to Kenya, take them to Kibera. Let them see the shame on America, the shame on Europe, the shame on Russia is fighting Ukraine now, killing poor people. This shame, this cultural rottenness must stop. Kibera is a taint on humanity. Is an accusation on the Jeff Bezos of their age. Jeff Bezos is busy going to explore the space as if humans are not in Kenya. As if Kibera does not exist in Kenya. Let us stop. Bill Gates is busy trying to reduce the population of Africa. Go to Kenya, look at Kibera in Nairobi, and go back to America shamefaced with your wife, Melinda Gates. Stop going to Africa unless you start valuing humanity. Don't be witches and wizards. It doesn't matter how rich you are worthless. Because if you don't have no value for humanity, you are an alien, you are a ghost. Your wealth rots with you. And that is the situation. This is what I have said over and again. Watch the rest of my video and think about it. Leave a comment below and let us engage in the conversation. Humanity's life is at stake. If you don't value your life, get out. Go to an outer space. Leave the earth. Leave the earth. Let humans occupy the earth. If you're an alien, you don't value your life, get out. Leave people who value humanity to get on with it. It doesn't matter how rich you are, it doesn't matter what power you have, get out. Let true, real humans take over power to look after humanity. Kibera in Nairobi. Go and see it. I show it on television. We can't allow things like that to happen in the world. So we say Nairobi is home to Kibera as if it is some glorious thing. It's one of the most evil places you see in the 21st century. It is hell on earth. We created that in America, in Europe, in Russia, in the developed world, in the developing world, in Africa. We created the Kibera of the world. So the Ashanti town is believed to house between 170,000 people and 1 million people. This is totally rotten. This is a total rot. This is hell on earth. Let us look at the ethnicity of Kenya. Watch this video and watch the rest of the video also about Kenya and the cost of living. This is nothing to accuse Kenya because this is actually a scene across Africa. The level of poverty, the level of abuse, decades of rottenness in Africa and across the globe. Look at what is happening in Ukraine and Russia. Russia and Ukraine are fighting. Innocent people are being killed. Poor people are being killed. What has gone wrong with humanity? Kenya has a diverse population that includes many of Africa's major ethno-racial and linguistic groups. Although there is no official list of Kenyans' ethnic groups, the number of ethnic categories and subcategories recorded in the country's census has changed significantly over time, expanding from 42 in 1969 to more than 120 in 2019. Thank you for watching this video. Leave a comment below. Watch the rest of the video, share with family and friends, subscribe to my channel. Most residents are Bantu, 60%, or Nilotic 30%. Cushitic groups also form a small ethnic minority, also to Arabs, Indians, and the Europeans. According to the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics, KNBS, in 2019, Kenya had a total population of 47,564,296. The largest native ethnic groups were the Kikuyu, 8,148,668, Luya, 6,823 and 823, Kalenjin, 6,358 and 168,113, Luo, 5,066,000, 966, Kamba, 4,663,910, Somali, 2,780,502, Kisi, 2,703,225, Mijikenda, 2,488,691, Meru, 1,975,869, Masai, 1,189,522, and the Turkana, 1,016,178 and 74. This is actually the structure of population in Kenya. The northeastern province of Kenya, formerly known as the NFD, is predominantly inhabited by the indigenous ethnic Somalis. Foreign-rooted in population include Arabs, Asian, and the Europeans. Let's look at languages of Kenya. Kenya's ethnic groups typically speak their mother tongues within their own communities. The two official languages, English and Swahili, are used in varying degrees of fluency for communication with other populations. English is widely spoken in commerce, schooling, and government. Peri-urban and rural dwellers are less multilingual, with many in rural areas speaking only their native languages. British English is primarily used in Kenya. Additionally, a distinct local dialect, Kenyan English, is used by some communities and individuals in the country and contains features unique to it that were derived from local Bantu languages such as Kiswahili and Kikuyu. It has been developing since colonization and also contains certain elements of American English. Sheng is a Kiswahili-based dialect spoken in some urban areas. Primarily a mixture of Swahili and English, it is an example of linguistic code switching. 69 languages are spoken in Kenya. Most belong to two broad language families, Niger, Congo, Bantu branch, and Nilo-Saharan Nilo branch, spoken by the country's Bantu and Nilotic population respectively. The Cushitic and Arab ethnic minorities speak languages belonging to the separate Afroasiatic family, with the Indian and European residents speaking languages from Indo-European family. Let's look at the urban centers of Kenya and towns, also cities and towns in Kenya by population. With average statistics, we have looked at this before. Look at the rest of the video. For statistics, we are going straight to looking at religion in Kenya. The Holy Ghost Roman Catholic Cathedral in Mombasa. Most Kenyans are Christians, 85.5%, with 53.3% Protestants, and 20.6% Roman Catholic. So there are more Anglicans in Kenya than Catholics. Kenya is predominantly a Christian country. 85% are Christian. There are Smaller conservative reformed churches, the African Evangelical Presbyterian Church, the Independent Presbyterian Church in Kenya, and the Reformed Church of England in Africa, or a Church of East Africa. Orthodox Christianity has 621,200 and 2,000 adherents. Kenya has by far the highest number of Quakers of any country in the world, with around 146,300 in number. The only Jewish synagogue in the country is in Nairobi. Islam is the second largest religion, comprising 10.9% of the population. 60% of Kenyan Muslims live in the coastal region, comprising 50% of the population there, while the upper part of Kenya's eastern region is home to 10% of the country's Muslims, where they are the majority religious group. Indigenous beliefs are practiced by 0.7% of the population, although many self-identifying Christians and Muslims maintain some traditional beliefs and customs. Non-religious Kenyans are 1.6% of the population. Some Hindus also live in Kenya. The numbers are established to be around 60,287, or 0.13% of the population. Let's look at health in Kenya. Examples include outpatient department, or AIC, in places like Kapsowa Hospital being prominent among many in Kapsowa area. Healthcare is one of the low priority sectors in Kenya and was allocated 4.8% of the national budget in 2019 and 2020, or just 4.59%. This is a bad sign for Kenya. Should change, pay more attention to looking after the nation health. 4.59% of GDP compared to high priority sectors such as education, which was allocated more than 25%. According to the National and County Health Budget Analysis FY 2020-2021, the breakdown of county health expenditure was 58% on policy planning and administrative support services, 20% on curative and rehabilitative health, and rehabilitative health services, 8% on preventive and promotive health services, and 7% on other programs. Healthcare is largely funded by private individuals and their families or employers through direct payments to healthcare providers, to the National Health Insurance Fund or the medical insurance company. Insurance for health for poor people is absolutely wrong. Is caused by privatization, which is actually a mindless exercise, especially when you are privatizing public service, which actually to cater for 80% to 90% of the population in a country, especially a country like Kenya. Like I said before in the openings of this process of this video, and also in the rest of the video, this is wrong policy. It should be changed, should be stopped. It's a failure of society. It's not something anybody should be proud of. We can be proud of capitalism. We can be proud of growth, wealth creation, technology, any aspect of development we should be proud of. But if we cannot look after, with the wealth of the world, we cannot look after the 90% of the population, then we are actually in a mess. And we have to revisit our culture, like I've been saying it over and over. I will be repeating this so that we don't lose track of. Healthcare is largely funded by private individuals and their families or employers through direct payments to healthcare providers, to the National Insurance Fund or medical insurance company. That is what I say is wrong. The government which is running Kenya, should take over responsibility to provide health care The reason Kenya cannot provide healthcare because of privatization. The same is happening in Europe, America, and the rest of the world. People are actually suffering everywhere in the world because of privatization, shutting down the public sector for healthcare, employment, housing, transportation, food, energy, and that's why there's a cost of living crisis. There shouldn't have been the cost of living crisis. Factors of privatization, which is actually a form of insanity by people who are ruling the world, wherever they are, they should learn the culture of humanity, the cultural economy. Otherwise, there will never be any peace. Societies will go from bad to worse. Say this again over and over. Watch the rest of the video to see what I've been saying. Additional funding comes from local, international, and some governmental social safety net schemes. Public hospitals are fee for service establishment that generate large amounts of county and national government revenues, making them highly political and corrupt enterprises. So we are saying the same thing again and again. Because of corruption, because of greed and ignorance, we are actually changing what is actually essential of life into a commercial product. All we think about is money and wealth. This is wrong. Cultural failure is private health facilities are diverse, highly dynamic, and difficult to classify, unlike public health facilities, which are easily grouped into classes that consist of community-based level 1 services run by community health workers, dispensaries, level 2 facilities run by nurses, health centers, level 3 facilities run by clinical officers, sub-county hospital level 4 facilities which may be run by the clinical officers or a medical officer, a county hospital level 5 facilities which may be run by a medical officer or a medical practitioner, and a national referral hospital level 6 facilities which are run by fully qualified medical practitioners. This is like counting the legs of snails. Extremely complex system which is totally unnecessary. It's indicative of the corruption within the state, within the globe, because of obsession with privatization and dishonesty or ignorant, take your pick, where government actually destroying the countries and the world for the many, and concentrating wealth in the hands of the few, abusing the rest of the population, threatening their very existence. And the message is that if we don't revisit our cultural economy, we are going to destroy the majority of the population who are poor, and ultimately, because of violence and cultural ignorance, we are going to also destroy the rich. So humanity is going to go extinct. I've been saying this over and over. I'll be saying it again and again. A table showing different grades of clinical officers, medical officers, and medical practitioners in Kenya's public service. Nurses are by far the largest group of frontline health care providers in all sectors, followed by clinical officers, medical officers, and medical practitioners. These are absorbed and deployed into government service in accordance with the Scheme of Service for Nursing Personnel 2014 and the Revised Scheme of Service of Clinical Personnel 2020 and the Revised Scheme of Service for Medical Officers and Dental Officers in 2016. Traditional lead healers are herbalists, witch doctors and faith healers are readily available, trusted, and widely consulted as practitioners of first and last choice by both rural and urban dwellers. Despite major achievement in the health sector, Kenya still faces many challenges. The estimated life expectancy dropped in 2009 to approximately 55 years, 5 years below the 1990 level. The infant mortality rate was high at approximately 44 deaths per 1,000 children in 2012. The World Health Organization estimated in 2011 that only 42% of births were attended by a skilled health professional. This is a dereliction of duty due to privatization, due to lack of cultural enlightenment, and producing the violence which is not necessary. Diseases of poverty directly correlate with the country's economic performance and wealth distribution. In 2015-2016, 35.6% of Kenyans live below the poverty line. The preventable diseases like malaria, HIV/AIDS, pneumonia, diarrhea, and malnutrition are the biggest burden, major child killers, and responsible for much morbidity, weak policies, corruption, inadequate health workers, weak management, and poor leadership in the public health sector are largely to blame. According to 2009 estimate, HIV/AIDS prevalence is about 6.3% of the adult population. The problem is privatizing public sector should stop and be reversed for the majority of the population. That is how to solve the problem, including this problem of the cost of living crisis. However, the 2011 UNAIDS report suggests that the HIV epidemic may be improving in Kenya as HIV prevalence is declining among young people aged 15 and 24 and pregnant women. Kenya had an estimated 15 million cases of malaria in 2006. Talking about women, look at main article here. Women in Kenya, child marriage in Kenya, and polygamy in Kenya. The total fertility rate in Kenya was estimated to be 4.49% children per woman in 2012. According to a 2008-2009 survey by the Kenyan government, the total fertility rate was 4.6%, and the contraceptive usage rate among married women was 46%. Maternal mortality is high, partly because of female genital mutilation, with about 27% of women having undergone it. These practices, however, are on the decline as the country becomes more modernized, and in 2011 it was banned by Kenya. Women are economically empowered before colonization. By colonial land alienation, women lost access and control of land. They became more economically dependent on men. Colonial order of gender emerged where males dominated females. Median age at first marriage was increased with increasing education. Rape, defilement, and battering are not always seen as serious crimes. Reports of sexual assault are not always taken seriously. So looking at youth, Article 260 of the Kenyan Constitution of 2010 defines youth as those between the ages of 18 and 34. According to the 2019 population and census results, 75% of the 47.6 million population is under the age of 35, making Kenya a country of youth. Youth unemployment and underemployment in Kenya has become a problem. According to the Kenyan National Bureau of Statistics, KNBS, approximately 1.7 million people lost their jobs as a result of COVID-19 pandemic, which eliminated some informal jobs and caused the economy to slow. The Kenyan government has made progress in addressing the high youth unemployment by implementing various affirmative action programs and projects, which include National Youth and Youth Service, National Youth Enterprise Development Fund, and the Women Enterprise Fund, Kazi Mtani, Jira Digital, Kikao Mtani, Ways Fund, Future Bora, and the studio Mashinani that empower youth, other opportunities, and to raise one standard of living. All this pales into nothing if privatization remains. The only problem to all these problems, the only solution is actually to nationalize the public sector and public service, and to be provided for by the state or community or family groups and funded by taxpayers' money, but which should give more to support people to get them out of poverty. Otherwise, we continue to play games. We can continue to play games, and if you look at this infrastructure, they're extremely complex and senseless. And that's why the more you reform, the more stupid you look as a government, as a country. You know, this is look like a form of joke. I mean, all you need is to provide public service. Simple. The complexity should stop. It's a form of corruption. It's a form of lunacy, a failure of the culture. Let's all go back to school and learn enlightenment in terms of cultural economy, valuing humanity as a priority and doing the right thing to get people out of poverty, to prevent incidents such as the cost of living crisis. Looking at education in Kenya, looking at schools in a classroom, and we're looking at universities such as Kenyatta University in Nairobi. Children attended nursery school or kindergarten in the private sector until they are 5 years old. We'll talk about the private sector providing public service. This is the top in Kenya or elsewhere. And what we need to do going forward is to provide public service using the public sector, and this need to be happening immediately. So this last one to 3 years, KGI, KG2, KG3, and it's financed privately because there has been no government policy on pre-schooling until recently. It's wrong. Privatization is wrong. Or public sector. You know, this is been saying this often and over. Basic formal education starts at the age of 6, like 12 years, consisting of 8 years in primary school and 4 in high school, secondary. Primary school is free in public schools, and those attending can join a vocational youth village polytechnic and make their own arrangements for an apprenticeship program and learn a trade such as tailoring, carpentry, motor vehicle repair, bricklaying, and masonry, or about 2 years. Government should provide full education for everybody, especially the majority of the poor. The 10 or 15% of the super rich should provide education in private schools if they prefer paying for themselves. It is unreasonable to ask poor people to pay for their children. Making the arrangement is nonsense, because you don't make arrangements. You just take money from your pocket, which money doesn't exist because of poverty, because of things like the cost of living. So the government should stop and begin behaving like an idiot, whether in Kenya or any part of the world, chickening. Those who complete high school can join a polytechnic or other technical college and study there for 3 years, or proceed directly to university and study for 4 years. Option is okay, but should be fully funded by the government, using public money, using public sector mechanism, period. Graduates from the polytechnics and colleges can then join the workforce and later obtain a specialized high diploma qualification after a further 1 or 2 years of training, or join the university usually in the 2nd or 3rd year of their respective course. Employment is being taken away from humans by the machine. So the state should prepare to provide welfare assistance to people who will lose out when technology takes over running the economy. There will still be wealth because machine will create wealth, and this wealth should not be concentrated unnecessarily into the hands of the few and taken away from the hands of the many, which is actually a nonsense of capitalism, which should be corrected by a good government which practices the public sector to provide to lift poor people out of poverty. The I diploma is accepted by many employers in place of a bachelor degree and a direct or accelerated admission to postgraduate studies, which is possible in some universities. Look at Masai Girls School. Public universities in Kenya are highly commercialized institutions, and only a small fraction of qualified high school graduates are admitted on limited government sponsorship into a program of their choice. This is what is fundamentally wrong with Kenya and Africa and also the globe, because of privatization. In Africa is done more blatantly. In Europe and developed world is done more subtly, the more subtle way, but either way, public sector is being privatized and also excluding poor people from everything, from education, healthcare, employment, livelihood, like income, energy, food, housing, public transport, and you name it. Literally, privatization is excluding 95% of the population from the economy. Most admitted into the social sciences, which are cheap to run, or self-sponsored students paying the full cost of their studies. Most qualified students who miss out opt for middle level diploma programs in public or private universities, colleges, and polytechnics. In 2018, 18.5% of the Kenyan adult population was illiterate, which was the highest rate of literacy in East Africa. The highest rate of literacy in East Africa. That is what Kenya represents. There are very wide regional disparities. For example, Nairobi the highest level of literacy at 87.1% compared to Northeastern Province, the lowest at 8.0%. Preschool, which target children from age 3 to 5, is an integral component of the educational system and is a key requirement for admission to standard 1 first grade. At the end of the primary education, pupils sit the Kenya Certificate of Primary Education KCPE, which determines those who proceed to secondary school or vocational training. The result is this is a mixed examination which is needed. The result of this mixed examination is needed for placement at secondary school. Primary school is for students aged 6 and 7 to 13 and 14 years. For those who proceed to the secondary level, there is a national examination at the end of Form 4, the Kenya Certificate of Secondary Education, KCSE, which determines those proceeding to the university, other professional training, or employment. Students sit examinations in 8 subjects of their choosing. However, English, Swahili, and mathematics are compulsory subjects. The Kenya University and College Central Placement Services, KUCCPS, formerly the Joint Admission Board JAB, is responsible for selecting students joining the public universities. Other than the public school, there are many private schools, mainly in urban areas. Similarly, there are a number of international schools catering to various overseas educational system. Kenya was ranked 85th in the Global Innovation Index in 2021. Let's look at culture of Kenya. Look at boys and girls performing traditional dances, media house, which also nation media. The culture of Kenya comprises multiple traditions. Kenya has no single prominent culture. It instead consists of the various cultures of the country's different communities. Notable population include the Swahili on the coasts, several other Bantu communities in the central and western region, and Nilotic communities in the northwest. The Maasai culture is well known to tourism, despite constituting a relatively small part of Kenya's population. They are renowned for their elaborate upper body adornment and jewelry. Additionally, Kenya has the extensive music, television, and theater scene. Let's look at the media of Kenya. Kenya has a number of media outlets that broadcast dramatically and globally, domestically and globally. They cover news, businesses, sports, entertainment. Popular Kenyan newspapers include the Daily Nation, part of the nation, nation media group, NMG, largest market share, the Standard, the Star, the People, East African Weekly, Taifa Leo, a television station based in Kenya include the Kenyan Broadcasting Corporation, KPC, Citizen TV, Kenya Television Network, KTN, NTV, part of the Nation Media Group, and NMG, Kids Television, K24 Television, Cash TV. All these terrestrial channels are transmitted via the DVS T2 digital TV signals. Literature in Kenya, we are looking at prominent authors like Ngugi wa Thiong'o. Thiong'o is one of Kenya's best-known writers. His novel "Weep Not Child" depicts life in Kenya during the British occupation. The story details the effect of the Mau Mau on the life of Kenyans. Its combination of themes, colonialism, of education, and love, make it one of the best-known African novels. M.G. Vasanji, 2003 novel, The In-Between World of Vikram Lal, won the Gila Prize in 2003. It is the fictional memoir of a Kenyan of Indian heritage and his family as they adjust to the changing political climates in colonial and post-colonial Kenya. Since 2003, the literary journal Kwame has been publishing Kenyan contemporary literature. Kenya has also nurtured emerging versatile authors such as Paul Kipchumba, Kipwendwe, Kibiwot, who demonstrate a Pan-African outlook. Music of Kenya. There are popular Kenyan music such as Jua Kali. Kenya has a diverse assortment of popular music forms in addition to multiple types of folk music based on the variety of over 40 regional languages. Drums are the most dominant instrument in Kenya in popular Kenyan music. Drum beats are very complex, include both native rhythms and important ones, especially the Congolese Kavacha rhythm. Popular Kenyan music usually involves the interplay of multiple parts and more recently show guitar solos as well. There are also a number of local hip-hop artists, including Joe Kali, Afro-pop bands such as Sauti Solo, and musicians who play local genres like Benga, such as Akothi. Lyrics are most often in Kiswahili or English. There is also some emerging aspect of Lingala borrowed from the Congolese musicians. Lyrics are also written in local languages. Urban radio generally only plays English music, though there also exist a number of vernacular radio stations. Zili Zopendwa is a genre of local urban music that was recorded in the 1960s, 70s, and 80s by musicians such as Daudi Kabaka, Fadili William, and Sukuma bin Ongaro, and is particularly enjoyed by other older people, having been popularized by the Kenyan Broadcasting Corporation's Swahili service, formerly called Voice of Kenya or VOK. The Esukutie is a various of dance performed by a Luya sub-tribe to the beat of a traditional drum called the Esukutie during many occasions, such as the birth of a child, marriage, or funeral. Other traditional dances include the Ohangla among the Luo, Nzele among the Mijikenda, and the Mogisi among the Kikuyu, and Tarab among the Kiswahili. Additionally, Kenya has a growing Christian gospel music scene. Prominent local gospel musicians include the Kenyan Boys Choir. Bengal music has been popular since the late 1960s, especially in the area around Lake Victoria. The word Bengal is occasionally used to refer to any kind of pop music. Bass, guitar, and percussion are the usual instrument. Let us look at sports in Kenya. And people like Jeff Kosegi, Kipiego, and Jeff Kemoi, Cheriot, and 2012 London Olympics. Kenya is active in several sports, among them cricket, rallying, football, rugby, field hockey, and boxing. The country is known chiefly for its dominance in middle distance and long distance athletics, having consistently produced Olympic and Commonwealth Games champions in various distance events, especially in 800 meters, 1,500 meters, 3,000 meters steep chase, 5,000 meters, 10,000 meters, and marathon. Kenya athletes, particularly Kalenjin, continue to dominate the world of distance running, although competition from Morocco and Ethiopia has reduced this supremacy. Kenya's best-known athletes include full-time women's Boston Marathon winner and two-time world champion Kathleen Ndereba, 800-mile world record holder David Rudisha, former marathon world record holder Paul Taggart, and John Ngugi. Kenya won several medals during the Beijing Olympics, 6 gold, 4 silver, and 4 bronze, making it Africa's most successful nation in the 2008 Olympics. New athletes gained attention, such as Pamela Jelimo, the women's 8,000 male gold medalist, who went on to win the IAAF Golden League jackpot, and Samuel Wanjiru, who won the men's marathon. Retired Olympic and Commonwealth Games champion Kipchoge Keino helped usher in Kenya's ongoing dynasty in the 1970s, and was followed by Commonwealth champion Henry Reynolds spectacular string of world records performances. Lately, there has been controversy in Kenyan athletes circles with the defection of the number of Kenyan athletes. Um, a defection of Kenya athletes to represent other countries, chiefly Bahrain and Qatar. The Kenyan Ministry of Sport has tried to stop the defection, but they have continued on anyway, with Bernard Lagat being the latest choosing to represent the United States. Most of these defections occur because the economic or financial factors. So we talk about the cost of living crisis. Looking at Kenya, sports, and we're linking it to poverty and conditions, including politics, corruption, and all the other factors in Kenya. Decision by the Kenyan government to tax athletes' earnings may also be a motivating factor. Some elite Kenyan runners who cannot qualify for their country's strong national team find it easier to qualify by running for other countries. The Kenyan Olympic and world record holder in the 800 meters, David Rudisha. Kenya has been a dominant force in women's volleyball with Africa, with both the clubs and the national team winning various continental championships in the past decades. The women's team has competed at the Olympics and World Championships through, though without any notable success. Cricket is another popular sport, also ranking as the most successful team of sport. Kenya has competed in the Cricket World Cup since 1996. They upset some of the world's best teams and reached the semi-finals of the 2003 tournament. They won the inaugural World Cricket League Division 1 hosted in Nairobi and participated in the World T20. They also participated in the ICC Cricket World Cup 2021. Their current captain is Rakesh Patel. Rugby is increasing in popularity, especially with annual Safaris 7 tournament. The Kenya the seventh team ranked 9th in the IRB 7 World Series for 2006. In 2016, the team beat Fiji at the Singapore 7 finals, making Kenya the second African nation after South Africa to win a World Series championship. Kenya was once also a regional powerhouse in football. However, its dominance has been eroded by wrangles within the now defunct Kenya Football Federation, leading to a suspension of FIFA, which was lifted in March 2007. In the motor rallying arena, Kenya is home to the world-famous Safari Rally, commonly acknowledged as one of the toughest rallies in the world. First held in 1953, it was part of the World Rally Championship for many years until its exclusion after the 2002 event owing to financial difficulties. Some of the best rally drivers in the world have taken part in and won the rally, such as John Waldegard, Anu Mikola, Tommy McKinnon, Shekhar Mehta, Carlos Sainz, and Colin McRae. The Safari Rally returned to the World Championship in 2021 after the 2003 and 2019 event ran as part of the African Rally Championship. Nairobi has hosted several major continental sport events, including the FIFA Africa Championship 1993, where Kenya's national basketball team finished in the top 4 in its best performance to date. Kenya also has its own ice hockey team, the Kenya Ice Lions. The teams are on ground is the solar ice rink at the Pantanal Sky Center in Nairobi, which is the first and the largest ice rink in all of Africa. looking at Kenya, linking the country to the cost of living crisis, cuisine, ugali and sukuma wiki, staple of Kenya cuisine, can be found. Looking at Kenya, linking the country to the cost of living. If you watch this video, watch the rest of the video as well for it, because it's a continuation of the other videos. Kenya generally 3 meals in a day: breakfast, kiamsha, kinywa, lunch, chakula cha mchana, and supper, chakula cha jioni, or simply chajio. In between they have the 10 o'clock tea, chai ya saha ne, and 4 p.m. tea, chai ya saa kumi. Breakfast is usually tea or porridge with bread, chapati, mahamri, boiled sweet potatoes, and yam. Githeri is a common lunchtime dish in many households. White ugali with vegetable, sour milk, musik, meat, fish, or any other stew is generally eaten by March the population for lunch or supper. Regional variation in dishes also exist. In Western Kenya, among the Luo, fish is a common dish. Among the Kalenjin, who dominate much of the Rift Valley region, musik, sour milk, is a common drink. In cities such as Nairobi, there are fast food restaurants, including Steers, KFC, and Subway. There are also many fish and chips shops. Cheese is becoming more popular in Kenya, with consumption increasing. Consumption of these products are increasingly popular among the middle class. Thank you for bearing with me, watching this material to the end. Thank you for coming this far. Subscribe to this channel if you haven't subscribed. Watch the rest of the video to link it with this. This is you can call it material literary review to link the information to the cost of living crisis, and we're looking at Kenya. And thank you, and see you in the next video. Subscribe, click the notification bell, share with family and friends, and leave a comment below, and click like. Thank you so far. See you in the next one. Thank you. Bye bye.